Hello, I'm Hatrix, and today we are gonna prestige a Poison Mutilate build and using Envenom as a finisher. The way I try to build this is that I want to do Mutilate then Envenom and build my combo points from Honor Amongst Thief and Seal Fate. That requires the build to have a lot of crits, and that makes the build very hard to roll, especially when only CG is out. Here you can see the talents I've chose. For another time I would probably take Vile Poisons instead of Festering Runes because just a higher multiplier, and Wild Poisons you have to in theory hit 3 times in order to get the maximum benefits. Any of the cards I've shown, you can go back and pause, are very reasonable options if you don't have the cards I have, or if you only have not the max amount of cards. It's better to have a max stacked card for your prestige instead. So all of these cards I've shown are also cards I'm hunting for while prestiging. The way I did the prestige is that I took Fan of Knife instead of Berserker Stance. Berserker Stance is nice to have and it's very important to have all the crit, but I really wanted to have free AoE, and Fan of Knives were legendary beforehand, and now we can just have it as a skill. That is pretty amazing because Poisons didn't really have AoE way beforehand. They only had the Festering Wounds, the one we carded, but you couldn't combine it with other legendaries. Here you can see we hit some of the big hit talents that are very important, especially when you're hitting with an offhand. And also here you can see the first roll we get the lethality. That is also why these cards are very good to card, because it's 30% of our damage, and if we don't hit 3 out of 3, we are getting 10% increase. It's still a very high multiplier, but we could in theory get so much more. Here we're getting some of the cards. We're also getting the Honor Among Thieves at some point. That is very nice with the Fan of Knife, so we actually get combo points from casting Fan of Knife. I really wished for this prestige run that I took the focused attack instead, so that I got crits from my attacks. That meant that my focused attacks would make it much more easier to cast the Fan of Knife, because that's the way how we leveled. So for another time we'll do that. Here we got the Vile Poisons, and we're also getting the Honor Amongst Thief on top of each other, so it makes a lot more easy to do the run. Here we're also getting the Master Poisoner. This is probably the top of all must-have talent for poison build, because it does so Envenom doesn't consume the poisons on the target, and without it I don't really think we can play this. Piercing Cleaver. I never played with this before, but I found out that's a very nice AoE addition to just click on cooldown. And speaking of cooldowns, we also got the Poison Nova. A very nice thing to spend our combo points now that we got the Honor Amongst Thief. Also got the Combat Experience. That's a very nice scaling of our agility, and we also take those. It's something I really all the time keep in mind when we do these runs, to see, okay, how much of these small things did we get as well. Here we also got the Combat Potency. Combat Potency you can survive with. We got it again right after almost. We got it 2 out of 3, and it's a shame. That's also why you really want to card stuff like this, but Combat Potency is just so weak in this build compared to how strong the other talents are. So it's nice to have. And yeah, we didn't level with Mutilate. You could have do that, of course, but I just wanted to spam poisons, and my heirloom weapons were not enchanted for daggers, but it would probably have been a lot better. Also, the talent for Mutilate, it's so strong, the amount of energy you get, but you really need to be invested in crit in order to make it work. And yeah, we were quite a while from the amount of crit required. Here you can see and how we do the mana storms. We are getting at level 9. Here you want to leave before level 11, where the mana storm is getting more difficult, and especially when you're hitting a bad layer, as the layer we hit with the Jandas. It's a very annoying boss to deal with, so it just takes a lot of time. So we just choose to reset, and if we get we do 4 or 5 runs, and then we try to get a new layer. Here you can see I got level 60 before my friend, so I'm swapping to my main build, the Explosive Shot Hunter. If you want to see that, I have a video part 3 coming out with how the build is performing now. I rolled some new stuff. So now I can just help him finish up his levels, and it's going a bit faster with a level 60 build. Keep in mind, you cannot leave the Mana Storm and then join together afterwards. So it's very important that you stay in and finish up. That is also a good reason why having the Treasure Goblin, I didn't mention that in my DP items, but I think it was actually the number 8, I forgot. But the Treasure Keeper has a lot of use cases. Here I'm going over how the build looked after the Prestige. You can pause and see what I got. It's not the best, it's not the worst, could have gone better. And here I'm starting to do my rolls, and we actually have a big start. We do find the find weakness, also one of the best talents you can get. And else we are picking up all of these small crit talents, and normally crit talents are good damage, but especially for this build. And here we are hitting it for the 3rd time. That is again why I am getting more and more into hitting, carding the 3 out of 3. We're also hitting the Mutilate Poisons, and again, this could have been 30% more damage. It is not. Here we're hitting big though. Here we're hitting the focused attacks, and this I should probably have carded, but we actually hit it. So that also means that I can now have a more somewhat precise idea on how the build performs. Also here hitting 5% crit chance, also one of the best, if not top 10 at least, talents you can get, because you need so much crit for Mutilate. And also we hit the dual will specialization, not the best, but we make up for that in a bit. And here, again, we are upgrading lethality, but only 10% damage. And again, I was very tired of this at this point, and I've yeah, more on that later. We're hitting the cruelty, 5% crit, a bit strength, not that useful. Hitting the big upgrade on the dual specialization though, so sometimes lucky. 5% crit, one of the best one of them. Attack speed is nice, but that one is the best. I'm not sure how much offhand damage work with Mutilate, but I think it's a damage increase regardless. Here we're hitting the 6% agility. Not the greatest damage, but it's crit, it's better scaling, giving us reasons for the gear. Here I'm going over the REs I use. I also use these for leveling, so also probably should have used Mutilate for leveling with daggers. You can do that if you don't have the Fan of Knife. Most of you probably haven't. But also on the conclusion later, would I suggest you to try this? And here I'm going over my gear. Not the greatest, CG is out, there's a lot better gear. Mythic gear is pretty good, you're not missing anything if you're not doing CG. And here I'm gonna give an overview on my talents after the rerolls. We got enough talents that I wanted to try out the build and don't feel like I needed to prestige again. And here we could start out this section of the video by saying, hey, what's up guys, McDoubles here, and today we're testing out Mutilate+Envenom, and let me just say, this is some of the best damage I ever seen in my... I'm sorry, don't hate me, don't witch hunt me. I'm kidding. This damage is not the best, and yeah, main reason is that we're hitting Mutilate, and then Envenom, and not Mutilate+Envenom as we're supposed to. This is because we are not getting 5 combo points consistently, because we are not critting. That is why we don't have the talents for Honor of Monk Thieves, but we cannot do that because we don't have the enough Mutilate crits to get both of the Seal of Fate procs each time. That is how it is. We end up going to 2.6k. That is actually fine compared to how bad it was performed. If we had the energy and the combo points, then we probably could be looking at 3k a bit more. And also I think a better way would be scaling with spell power instead. So keep that in mind. So, and there are a lot of wiggle room with the talents we didn't have. We didn't have like Envenom, the Mutilate Poisons, all of the lethality, Furor, so a lot of talents we didn't have could have instead, so that is 52% damage. We could also have all of the Rend and auto apply of Rend, and with the elemental Rend nature combo, so a lot of passive damage from that. Like any of the legendary talents, we didn't have that as well. That is damage you can add. So when I evaluate my builds, I try to focus on how is the build performing with all the need to have talents to just get going. we didn't we got there. I would say we got the focused attacks, we got the combo potency. We didn't get the mutilate crit run, and we really needed a lot more crit to get a really good idea. But yeah, I would say now you have an idea how the build can perform, like a bare minimum. If you want to try this and you hit a bit more than me, then you're looking at 3k 3.5 with a lot more wiggle room to scale up if you spend more Scroll of Fortune in this, if this is the playstyle for you. Alright, conclusion time. If I were to prestige this again, I would cut the Mutilate Poison to start with the 3 out of 3. It also just a better scaling than Festering Wounds because it's 18% more damage, so that was quite a brain fart, I guess. Also with the focused attacks. And I will also need more crit on the build, like with talents or just better gear, to get a better test and idea how the build can actually perform, because I've seen this build perform very good. But you really need to be able to do the Mutilate+Envenom combo and not anything else to have all the combo points from Seal Fate and probably 100% crit. So yeah, Mutilate crit talent is big. That is the get energy when you crit with Mutilate. Really need that as well, and you can probably fix a lot of the other talents that you don't need them then, I guess, instead. And also Felon Fuse Blade. I mean, why would you play poisons that requires you to pick 3 to 4 not talent points, but talents in general to even start to scale, where you can just like play Felon Fuse Blade and do that so much more damage. So yeah, if I'm gonna do a part 2, I would have more crit gear in next or more spell power gear. Right now, this is me in the future. Hello. I hit the Felon Fuse Blade, so I am not gonna prestige this anytime soon. And yeah, because this is so much stronger. If you don't have this, I mean, I get that, then I would probably say Mutilate and Poisons are fine as a budget option, or what you say, to play until you get this. And yeah, but I wouldn't even be surprised if this were nerfed in the future, so you're not even in that bad of a statement place if you trying to go for the Poison Mutilate, because that is pretty safe. That's it for now. I'll try to still keep a video up each day right now, but also probably soon gonna go to every 2 day to have some free time. But I still enjoy making these. And yeah, still have the melee version coming up. I will include this build in a recap and redirect to this video as well, but more on that in the melee deep down starter build video coming up. And if you really don't want to miss that, subscribe to see when that comes up. And yeah, see you in the next video.